What's up, Colorado Springs? Today's podcast is with one of our clients down the Springs who does room by room rentals, but he's not a house hacker. He's got a great system in place, a great portfolio of rental properties with room by room rentals. Jenny, how are you? And who's our guest?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Chris?
Really good. I'm really excited to learn about this because I know of our guest. I know some about him through talking with you, but I really am excited to dig into details today.
Yeah, so our guest today is Neil, and he is an investor in Colorado Springs. I'll let him kind of get into the detail of what he does, but he has a fantastic model that he has set up that is just absolutely mind-blowing. So we'll dig into the details later, but you guys might remember one of his deals from about a month or so ago that we did a deal analysis on, and now he's here in person to kind of walk through some of the details with us on his second property this year that he bought.
Hi guys, thank you for having me. It's super exciting to be on the podcast. This is my first time to be on podcast, so I might sound a little bit nervous, but bear with me.
Oh no, you're good. You know, this will be exciting, man. Yeah. We're gonna pick your brain, and once you get talking real estate, you're gonna be in the flow. So you're good.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Neil, can you tell us a little bit about your current portfolio?
Sure. I'm a software engineer by trade, and my side hustle is, of course, rentals. I started Colorado Spring market about 4 years, but my first time getting into real estate was about 15 years ago when I first got out of college. I didn't know anything about real estate investing, and I just randomly bought one in New Mexico back in the days when the market is super crazy. I was just accidentally went to the area. My brothers moved there. He got a job over there, so I went there back in the days, and I saw all these new properties popping up. So I just went in and just bought one, and I thought the numbers looks decent, and I just left as is. And then the market crashed, and it felt like a punch in the face. And I promised myself I'm never gonna buy another rentals until I got married. My wife decided to be a stay-at-home mom, take care of the kids, and that's when I figured out I gotta need some extra income. So I started looking around, listening to a couple podcasts, reading some books. And just focus on how do I invest and create cash flow and do a side hustle with it. And I just couldn't find any deals in California or anywhere that kind of driving distance to my locally. So I had to look for either bank-owned foreclosures, short sale, or a big discount properties. And this is when I start working at a software company called Zome Auctions. This is when I start exploring, looking at these properties with big discount, but these foreclosures are requiring like all cash, all these deal. But on certain locations that they allow financing for foreclosures, these bank back to 2014-15, they just want to unload all those properties, right? So they're willing to finance your bank-owned foreclosure properties. So I start looking into those, and I kind of like look at the area I used to buy in New Mexico, and there's like couples and pop up. So I just jump in and bought them with like big discount. I bought them. The best part about these bank-owned foreclosures, they actually pretty clean. You don't have to do any big renovations. It's just all basic cosmetic stuff. So I was able to go in, get a big discount, paint some stuff up, put my tenants in. 6 months later, I do a BRRRR method. I got a couple more. Yep, I got a couple more in the area. And my latest, and then when I start looking around the area, and this is like the BRRRR method took at least a year to do it, right? For each process. And I start looking through the area, and pretty much all these properties all dry up, and I'm looking up to the area, and I'm like looking up in Colorado area, and I just found this property right next to the UCCS school, and I'm like, oh, this would be a perfect for student housing. So I just took a gamble, went out there, just it's a 5-bedroom house, walking distance to UCCS. I'm like, I crank out my numbers. I'm like, okay, worst case, I just have to rent out the whole house. And back then the market's going about 1,800 or so, and I look at my mortgage about 1,300. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I would try to rent out by rooms. And as soon as I put out a post, all the students just jump in and
Yep.
Just line up, and they want the properties right away. So moving forward, up to date, my last one is a 1031 exchange. I sold my foreclosure in New Mexico and parlay to this one to get a better cash flow on it.
Perfect. That's an amazing kind of story of, taking opportunity and then rolling it into better opportunity. So I think that's really a really great story for sure.
Yep.
So what
was
the initial attraction in Colorado Springs? I think I may have missed that, or what was the attraction?
You know what?
Springs?
I just love traveling, and back in the days, I used to have a friends went to school at CU, and I've been going out there a couple times a year back in the days, and just I love traveling, and I just and I work in Zone Auctions, so I did during my work day. All I do was develop these website that I'm looking at data all days long, and I just love the growth of Colorado Springs. It just the population grow and everything else going on for Colorado Springs, and I just love the area.
And was there any reason for like the fundamentals, or just because you're attracted to the area?
The fundamental are definitely there. The numbers working, and it just it's just the growth that I'm seeing. At first, I went to Denver, and the entry points was super high, and I didn't have the capital enough to buy one and make the number works in Denver. So the next best thing was I looked down. But at first, I actually looked through all of the university, right? So I grew up. I always lived with roommates, housemates, until I get married. My new roommates is my wife, right? So now, I always been living with housemate situations, and I know how the dynamics, how things work, and how to interview a good roommates, and I apply that to the system.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm eager, and if this is a little too early in the interview, you guys can tell me, but I'm very eager to jump in the property that you got to run some numbers. I find that like just fun to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So give me a second here to pull up the spreadsheet.
So you worked with Leah on this one, our agent down here in the Springs.
Yeah, so let's give the story on here. So what so Leah took the lead on this, our agent in Springs and Pueblo down here. What were you looking for? Like you set out, like what was the criteria that you're looking for and what we're hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I told her that we need something at least 4 to 5 bedrooms, 3 beds, a ranch house, preferably with a basement. So she just did her search, and she just sent me this list. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is great. The configuration looks perfect. They had 2 bedrooms on top, 2 bedroom downstairs, and an office. And an office is like super easily to convert to 1 bedroom, so it's end up to be a 5 bedrooms house.
Okay. So it's so it's 5 bedroom house. And you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Did that correctly? Okay. Yeah. So if the listeners out there, we're going to run through the numbers. We're using Joe's spreadsheet on here. It's on YouTube, even a blog post. You guys know the drill. All right. So 5 bedroom house. And then what did you find? Like, what was the search like?
At first I was just like focused in the kind of central area, well, actually UCCS area at first. And then I realized that not just students looking for housing, a lot of professional in the area. It doesn't matter the location of it does kind of matter, but I think as long as you kind of aim the house in the central area, you will get a ton of demands. Because my first house, like I mentioned, it was like walking distance to UCCS, and that's how it's like specific for the students. And once I noticed when I start looking for tenants, like a lot of them, not just student, I just found that the demands are super high in terms of professionals living around the area. So so I'm like, okay, I don't need to just stick in right next to UCS anymore. It just anyone central or further south. My other house with Jenny was technically right next to the airport.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much wherever you think that where employments are at, you will find tenants.
All right. So here we go. So what was the purchase price of the house you got?
It's 370.
370. And was that like a below list price, above list price? Were there multiple offers?
It's listed for 355, and then Leah was able to communicate with the listing agent, and she was able to run the comms, and we came in at 370. And there were I think 4 other offers as well. And Leah was able to figure out come up with the solid offers, and we was able to get it.
Wonderful. And what was your down payment percentage?
I put down 25%, and all this proceed was coming from a 1031 deal that I finished. I sold one of my rentals from another state, and then pull all that proceed to this one.
Okay, so you had the clock ticking on there. So
yep
25% down, 370,000 purchase price. I mean, do you have a memory like rough acquisition cost?
Roughly about 4,000.
Okay, 4,000. And then, as I think majority of our listeners know, you put the offer in. You and Leah beat out four other potential buyers. You go under contract. That first part of the contract is the due diligence phase of the contract. Inspection, documents, getting lending quotes, all that stuff. And this is where a lot of times things pop up, issues pop up, and it's kind of second round of negotiations. So during that inspection and due diligence phase, like, what did the inspection report turn up? Whether items like how that come out, and were there any issues that you and Leah needed to resolve or negotiate on?
Yes. So the inspection came back a little bit scary, but with that information, we were able to negotiate some great money back from the seller. So as an investor, cosmetic is no big deal for me. I've done so many cosmetic upgrades. So when I walk in a house, I saw a solid bones house. Everything looks great. Just a couple of things. Just the appliance are dated. They did some upgrade on the carpets and the flooring, so I didn't have to do anything of any of those. the only thing came out of it was the sewage, which is definitely scary. I think as Jenny and Leah always coaching all the investors saying we definitely have to do sewage inspection. And we were able to
Yes.
find some corrosions from the trees, but we dig deeper. There wasn't, basically it just needs some cleanup. And basically we were able to get a estimate from a professional plumbers and attach to that statement to the seller as well, so we can able to get all that money back as well. So the structure was came back perfect. The roof was only 5 years old. The only thing came back was just the federal electric panels need to be replaced, and the furnace for all. So we just need to clean that up, and I think we were able to get an estimate. If we wanted to replace it, it would cost about $4,000, and Leah was able to negotiate all the money to fix all those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
What was
fantastic.
What was the approximate amount you got in like seller credits back from them?
7,200.
Ooh, all right. And then I know you had some initial repair costs to, take care of some inspection items. And then did you have to put in any like money or additional work to get ready for a room by room rental to get it up and running, the initial repair cost?
No, pretty much the house, like I say, is just cosmetic. I just hire, like I mentioned earlier, there's an office. Doesn't have any walls, so we just put a wall up there. I bought all the materials, and the labor cost about $1,000. And we replaced the federal electric. That's $2,500. Overall, I think I spent about $4,000 to get it ready to rent, and I believe another $1,000 to buy all the appliances.
Okay. So great. About $4,000 all in. And with a 25% down payment, what was your interest rate, or what is your interest rate?
3.875.
Right. I'm assuming 30-year mortgage.
Yep.
All right. Now let's talk about rents here. You have 5 bedrooms. How many rooms you're renting out, and how'd you come up with just talk about the whole process? Like, what they rent for? How'd you come up with all that stuff? Because this is a fascinating stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done this. This is like I mentioned, this is my 6th rentals, so I know the market super well. So each room the regular room I was able to pull out $600 per month, and the master is $750.
So 600 times 4 plus 750 for master.
Yep.
All right. So $3,150 a month in income. Wow. I can already tell this to be a good cash flow property. We don't need to go to the second tab of the spreadsheet. Wow, those great rents are down there.
So Neil, can you go into some of your techniques for developing what your room rates are? I've heard Facebook Marketplace is a really good gauge. Is that a tool that you use?
Yeah, I use Facebook groups, and Craigslist is super popular. I think I get a lot of traffic going through there. I joined a Facebook group, rentals, rental listing on Facebook, and you're able to post anything on there as well.
Great.
And what do you run for vacancy? Like room by room rentals, what do you plug in your vacancy at for that?
I think 5%.
Okay.
I mean, it's. I mean, historically, I don't think I ever hit that 5%, but just for an overall, I think 5% is a safe number.
What's your typical turnover for these?
All my leases are minimum of 6 months. And my master, I usually want to do a year. So, and as part of the lease, all tenants need to notify me 30 days before they're moving out. So I have plenty of time to fill up those vacancy.
So why do you have the master on a longer term lease and the other
The
bedrooms on the shorter
master,
term lease?
in terms of tenants pools, a little bit harder to find, and I try to lock in the master since it's a little bit harder to get the right tenants in there. So
Okay.
I figure it's best to lock in at 12 months.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you're not paying for property management.
Nope.
Since there aren't many room by room property managers out there. What do you put aside for just general like reserves, maintenance, CapEx, all that stuff?
I paying for all the utilities by looking at the average of all my other properties. It runs anything between 250 to 300, maybe 350 during summer if they cranking up the AC. Not all my properties has AC, but some has. So it's anything between average maybe $300 for everything, trash, internet, waters, pretty much all the utilities.
Okay, and so that's for utilities, but what about for just like general repairs and maintenance for like, things break, tenants destroy things? Do you underwrite a percent of rents or just like an annual amount that, hey, for example, Jenny, she takes a third of her cash flow and earmarks it for, future repairs. Like what rules of thumb do you use?
I do have a handyman, super affordable, and he's super, I always give work to him. So I would say about maybe 2,000 each house for just basics, cleaning up, move in and move out, just like a holes on the walls or replacing a keys, basic things like that. And I do buy a home warranty for all the big items. Those
Really?
costs, yeah. So
You
as
are the first investor that buys them repeatedly. I'm so
really?
fascinated. Yeah.
Yeah,
My experience has been horrible.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Okay. Talk to me about this. It's really interesting.
Yeah, because I know a handy guys that can do any basic stuff, non-mechanical items, but mechanical items it's quite costly if you send like a appliance person or a furnace person or any HVAC tech out. So I found it's very cost effective, and the turnaround time is super fast as well. So I did some research on home warranty, and I don't know if I should announce the name, say the name at all, but there's a bunch of them out there. But I found one that meet my needs, and it's very affordable. Cost me about $450 a year, and and every time you call them, they charge you $80 for someone to go out. And I figure if something breaks, like a furnace will go out, or a plug, or a burst pipes or something, I can rely on these professionals and send them out and just pay $80 and they fix it right away. And the turnaround time is super fast too. So they kind of like my my on the grounds people. So whenever like an emergency pop up, like a toilet leaks or something big happen, I just call them up and they just take care of them right away.
Okay. I mean, Jenny, do you buy home warranties for your properties?
No, I don't. But I mean, it's interesting though, because I don't know, it almost seems as a way to kind of subsidize like your time, because it seems like you make a call to the home warranty people, and then do they deploy the appropriate trade at that point? Or so you're not like flipping through and trying to get a hold of a plumber at midnight.
Oh no, everything is on a website. It's super easy. So just a couple click of buttons, buttons, and they just send somebody out there. So this is technologies has helped me to um, manage these properties from long distance quite sometimes. So it works well. It works pretty well for me. Some minor stuff I can send my handyman out, but like some big items, I just call these professionals to go out there.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm just like I mean, I've had a home warranty in the past and had a dishwasher break. This is my primary. The listing agent threw it in there as a bonus, and yeah, it was like $100 something much got a dishwasher, but it took them like a week to come out, and then they'd only repair up to like $400 to repair to replace it, and
Oh wow.
just for all the math, I guess this is not worth. Now, again, that's probably a
Yeah.
different company than what you're using. But as I've talked to other people, bitched and moan about to other people, I've had a lot more people similar experiences to me versus you, but this is very intriguing to me, especially too with how you're doing a long distance. You got a really good model going. So this is really cool.
Yeah, it's a hit and miss. I think originally I had some bad one, but as I try on errors and I found one I like, and they very reasonable. They don't try to fool you up front. So anything that need to be fixed, they actually fix it. Anything that need to be replaced, like I think 3 months ago I had a washer dryer just blew out, and they came out and I said, oh, it's not worth it to fix it. I will give you $500 to replace it, and then they just reimburse me whatever the amount to replace it.
Okay. I would definitely keep that name of the company to yourself and make people buy a nice cup of coffee or something to
Sure.
So all right, HOA, I'm assuming there's no HOA at the property since it's a single family.
HOA. Yep.
Okay, so we'll mark that as no. What are your taxes and insurance like?
The taxes, $1,100 a year.
Okay. Insurance?
This is another attraction for me to go to Colorado as well. The property tax is just ridiculous low. For all the investors out there, when you look for a certain area, taxes definitely should be part of your equations.
For sure.
Totally agree. What's your property insurance like?
I got good one for $1,500.
Do you have to get special insurance because I guess there's more, interpersonal conflict potential in that case, or does it just kind of underwrite the same way that a traditional long-term rental would?
Yeah, I talked to the broker and I just say, hey, it's a rentals and I'm not running Airbnb on it. It's a long-term rentals. They say, okay, as long as it's a long-term, everything's going to look the same as other policy as a rental property. So it's called a landlord policy. So it's I believe it's a little bit higher than if you live there. So, but it's pretty much underwriting just as a normal long-term rental. Either you rent out the whole house or individual rooms, as long as the lease has to be long-term.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right, here. So we've got $1,100 a year for taxes, insurance at $1,500 for the year, utilities about $3,600 for the year, give or take a few bucks. And then you said that $2,000, that was for just turn costs, or is that turn costs and general repairs and maintenance as well? Is that for everything?
For everything.
Wow. Okay. So that's and over the long run, I guess over the long run, does it normally stay within that range? Do you have some years like bigger spikes if for CapEx items or big repairs, or has it been around an average lot of properties?
I have only owned it for 4 or 5 years, but I haven't had any major issues. Like I say, the only thing I had was blowout dryers, which is the warranty cover for them. A few times that the toilets leaks, and it's all resolved by these home warranty people. And move in, move out. Sometimes you get a punch on a wall. You have to deduct that from the deposit. So all those are being covered by the tenants.
Okay. All right. So I'm switching to the cash flow tab here. Jenny, what's your guess around cash flow?
Oh, I have one question real quick for Neil.
Yep.
So my understanding was you guys use like an hourly helper.
Oh, yeah.
Would you incorporate that into like on a monthly basis, or would you say that's included within the repairs section?
It's also including the prepare. I think it's all fluctuate when you first rent out, when you close a house, I would say I spend about $500 to spend on these helpers that actually show the rooms and kind of interview the tenants to give me a yes or no on the tenants. To start it out, probably cost $500. But once all the rooms are filled, the helpers barely have to go out there. Another things I want to mention is with all the technology we have now, a lot of investors want to be super hands-on. I'm not sure about I'm sure you, Jenny, you want to be super hands-on, always want to know what's going on to your properties. So I put a rings camera in front of the house and the backyard of the house. So I always pretty much not there, but I'm always there. So this is I always disclose this to all my tenants, and they all cool with it. And I explain this is just for your safety, right? You all live in a housemate situations, and you don't know who's going to try to go in. You just explain to them it's a safety reason why I'm putting it on, and also another eye on the house as well for investor as well out there. So technologies out there, just use them smartly, and you can feel comfortably invest out of state if needed.
Great.
All right. So moving oh, sorry, Jenny.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving the cash flow tab here, $370,000 house, about $100,000 all in for down payment, repair cost. After your expenses, mortgage payments, your cash flowing about $12,000 a year or $1,000 a month, which turns into about a 12.5% cash on cash return or 7.4% cap rate. So, I mean, these are great numbers. And is this estimated cash about $1,000 a month? Is that about what you're aligned with your statements?
Yep.
Okay. This is wonderful. I mean, these are impressive numbers. And what's what's got me so intrigued, Neil, is especially, I mean, you're long distance doing room by room, which I think has its challenges, because I know a lot of times people don't want to do room by room because they don't want to have to be, running around and going to the property all the time. So maybe perhaps you being long distance forced you to, get systems and people in place because you can't do that. You physically cannot do that. So maybe that's been a pro for you, like a plus for you helping to scale room by room. I'm so fascinated that you're able to do this. This is awesome.
Yeah. And I think kind of what, is so intriguing to me is the fact that you're cash flowing so well. And, typically, as we've seen in Colorado Springs, at least, cash flow is diminishing as, the values are rising, but you're able to capture both by doing this method because you're buying in like really great areas, and then you're also able to cash flow each month. So it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. As a beginner investor from the start, I always stuck with that metric 1%. So it was discouraged when you first go in, but if you just try to be creative and force the number to be 1% at a certain point, that so the cash flow was a big part of the equations. But as a long-term investor, I think the numbers will work out at the end.
So I know people, they're hearing this or seeing this, they're going to want to replicate what you're doing. Like, what tips would you give people out there who want to get into, doing room by room rentals, while having a career, family, and all that, and balancing? Like, what advice do you have for people?
I think definitely have the right team to get started. You definitely have work with the right real estate agents. I think Leah and Jenny was super good on their numbers and super knowledgeable in this arena. If you want to get started, I think if it was your first or second properties, I would say definitely work with the right real estate agents. And if you are a seasoned real estate agent, real estate investor, go out there and get 10 as quick as you can. This rates, I don't think it will ever go this low in our lifetime. I don't think. So get the team on your side. Get your landing lineup. Leah and Jenny has a lot of networking team that can help you out on that side. And invest where you love to visit too. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't mind going out there just to hang out at these rentals properties. I love going to Laura Springs. So that's my tips for any new investor out there.
That's so great. And I had a question kind of, how far into this model did it really click for you where you're like, oh, I have, a sustainable system that I've created, and now it seems like you're able to roll it out really quickly. You're able to get a house, buy it, and get it up and running really, really soon. How long did it take you to develop those systems in place?
I would say be aggressive from your first house, just to understand the area. As I mentioned earlier, love where you invest. So my first house, I just went out there as my goal was just for to be a student house thing, because I went to college. I had housemates pretty much my whole 4 years during college, so I know the dynamics of living with other people. So just try to put yourself in the situations, if you can live in that house. And once you understand the dynamic of it, just implement it. Don't be scared of the numbers. As long as you have the right team helping you out, I'm sure every time you talk to Leah and Jenny, she will do a calculation out for you to make sure the properties are meeting your criteria. So, and be persistent. If one deal doesn't go through, just keep going. At the end, it will be rewarding.
I mean, that's great advice. Yeah. I mean, this is all the questions I have. I mean, Neil, Jenny, any final thoughts, questions?
I have one kind of silly question, but something that I've wondered. How often do you get phone calls about fights between tenants, like so and so stole my pizza, or something like that?
Oh, trust me. I think my first two houses, I pulling my hair out. I was like, this is crazy. I thought I knew everything, but once you do it, you know it, right? But it's pretty much try and errors, right? When you do it, you get beat up so bad, you just have to learn about it. So basically, you just set expectation to all the tenants. You just ask the right questions. You just ask them. My pool of tenants, they are working, so they have a super busy life. They just work and come home, and then just rest. And as far as students goes, as long as you have a super high speed internet, that's all they really care. All they do is go to school, come home and play their games, right? So as far as fighting, you just set expectation. You set the house rules. I live in housemate situation my whole life, so I usually write down all the house rules. example, you mentioned people might be stealing your foods, whatever. I give them a Postmate. You say, hey, if you don't want people stealing your food, label it. And they just follow the rules. And if there's some craziness going on, they just have their own house meeting and they resolve themselves. And they once you set out those policy, and again, they have to get along. Make sure you screen the right tenants. After you have all these crazy needy tenants, I think after a few rounds, you just talk to the tenants over the phone. You kind of feel it, right? You kind of like understand what their needs are, and you can kind of understand if they will be a good fit for the house.
Makes sense.
Well, Neil, if people want to pick your brain and reach out to you, are you open to talking to fellow investors or what? I would
love to. Yeah,
contact you. So I'm gonna ask this so Jen and I avoid getting asked this question.
Yeah, I can leave my emails to you guys, and it's magicfly@yahoo.com, magicfly@yahoo.com.
Okay.
So yeah, if anyone has any questions about it, just hit me up, and I can help you guys out. I think what I love about your podcast is all about helping people, and and I love to be part of that community.
Cool. We really appreciate that. So thank you. And we'll put your email address in the show notes. Neil, this has been awesome. I have a feeling we're going to have you back on the podcast again. If next time you're flying out to Colorado, let us know and we can maybe meet up and record a podcast in person or go walk a property or something. It'd be cool to really get more. I just want to peel back your brain more and learn more about what you're doing. So this is phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Neil. It's been great.
All right. Thanks to everyone. If you guys have any questions on what Neil is doing, reach out to us or email Neil directly. If you got help or have questions on buying properties in Springs, of course, reach out to Jenny and Leah, and we'll take care of you. Have a great one, everyone.